You are not your wounds. You are not the ache that once hollowed your chest at midnight, not the trembling voice that broke beneath the weight of unspoken words, not the betrayal that split your trust wide open like thunder tearing the sky. You are not the memories that haunt you or the names you were called when the world forgot how to be kind. You are not the pain. You are the awareness of the pain. You are the light that observed it all, silently, eternally. When you were born, you didn't arrive carrying stories of inadequacy. You didn't cry because you were ashamed. You didn't question your worth. You came as pure presence, without labels, without bruises, without wounds. You came from the infinite, dipped in divine essence, kissed by the breath of the eternal. That sacred truth has never left you. It only became buried beneath the rubble of human experience. What if I told you that nothing that has ever happened to you has the power to define you unless you let it? What if your trauma is not your identity, but a teacher that came in disguise? What if the greatest heartbreaks are not there to destroy you, but to awaken the part of you that no longer needs to be validated by anything external? What if your suffering was a seed, and now is the season to let it bloom into wisdom? There is a voice within you that has never been hurt. There is a presence in you that has never been abandoned. There is an essence so whole, so untouched by the illusions of this world, that even your deepest wound cannot reach it. That is who you are. You are the sky. Your pain is the passing weather. The ego wants to replay the hurt, keep the wound alive, make it your name, your badge, your narrative. It will tell you, you are broken, you are unsafe, you are unworthy. But who is this you that hears those words? Who is the one watching those thoughts arise? That is your soul. That is the witness. That is the still, timeless you. And the moment you identify with that eternal presence, you become free. Freedom isn't about changing what happened, it's about changing your relationship to what happened. You can't rewrite the past, but you can choose whether to relive it or release it. Every time you touch a memory and give it permission to pass through you without clinging to it, you heal. Every time you refuse to define yourself by your scars, you reclaim your power. Every time you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what is this here to teach me? You step into the sacred alchemy of transformation. The wound is not who you are. The wound is where the light entered. There is an old Sufi proverb that says, the wound is the place where the light enters you. And so often we misinterpret this as meaning we must stay wounded to be spiritual. But that is not what the mystics meant. The light enters through the wound, yes, but it does not stop there. It enters so it may heal, and in healing, it reveals to you what has always been whole. You are not your brokenness. You are the light that came to mend it. You see, the universe doesn't make mistakes. There are no accidental souls. You came here with a blueprint, with purpose written into your very cells, and no amount of suffering can erase that. In fact, the pain may be the path that leads you home. The shattered places, they are not your shame. They are your initiation. The philosopher Heraclitus once said, no man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and he is not the same man. You are not who you were when the pain found you. You have changed, grown, unfolded. And now you are standing on the edge of becoming. Forgive yourself for the ways you coped when you didn't know how to heal. Forgive yourself for clinging to identities rooted in survival. Forgive yourself for believing the lies of the ego when you were too weary to hear the truth of your soul. There is nothing in you that needs to be fixed, only remembered. You are not a project. You are a presence. The spiritual journey is not about becoming something. It is about unbecoming everything that is not truly you. It is the shedding of stories, of wounds, of masks. It is the return to essence, to that silent space within where nothing has ever been broken. Think of a tree that has been struck by lightning, the bark scorched, a branch fallen. But look again in the spring. See the new leaves sprouting, the sap still rising, life continuing its sacred rhythm. The wound is part of its story, yes, but it is not the whole story. And so it is with you. The ego will say, protect yourself. The soul will say, open. The ego will say, you are damaged. The soul will whisper, you are divine. The ego will say, stay in fear. The soul will sing, love anyway. The healing begins not when the pain ends, but when the identification with the pain ends. When you stop saying, this is who I am, and start saying, this is what I experienced, and I am the one who witnessed it all. You are the witness, the awareness, the vast open field of presence in which all things come and go. You are not your wounds. You are the love that survived them. You are not your wounds. You are not what they did to you. You are not what you lost. You are not the rejection, the abandonment, the silence, or the noise. Those were moments, not definitions. Those were storms, not structures. The sacred architecture of your soul remains untouched. You are not here to be defined by the chapters that brought you pain. You are here to realize you are the author, not the page. There is a stillness that lives beneath all things. Beneath the chaos, beneath the sorrow, beneath the name you were given and the roles you perform, there is a holy silence that has never been disturbed. It is the part of you that watched you cry and did not crumble. It is the part of you that walked through fire and still whispered love to the world. That part of you is not your story. It is your soul. It is the eternal you before the world told you who to be. And the truth is, your wounds do not make you weak. They make you wider. They open the heart, stretch the spirit, expand the soul. They are not signs of failure. They are invitations to remember your wholeness. Every time your heart broke, it was not the end. It was a cracking open, a sacred rupture through which something larger could be born. Pain is a holy messenger. It arrives not to punish, but to reveal. It is the finger pointing back to the presence within you that never left, even in the darkest hours. And yet, we resist it. We numb it, we shame it, we bury it beneath the noise of distraction, but pain unacknowledged becomes the prison. Pain embraced becomes the portal. When the Buddha said, life is suffering, he was not cursing existence, he was blessing it with honesty. He was inviting us to stop running, because it is only when we stop running from pain that we can finally meet the presence that transcends it. That presence is you. You are not your wounds. You are the unchanging awareness in which the wound appeared, healed, and dissolved. You are the field, not the storm. You are the light, not the shadow. You are the witness of the wound, not the wound itself. And when you return to this truth, healing begins not as an effort, but as a natural unfolding. Let go of the need to explain why it happened. The mind wants reasons. The soul wants freedom. And freedom comes not from the answer, but from the release. You are allowed to not understand it. You are allowed to not justify it. You are allowed to simply say, this hurt me, and I will no longer carry it. Imagine your soul like a mountain. Wind and rain may erode the surface. Lightning may split the bark of the trees, but the mountain remains. Steady, silent, immovable. That is who you are, beneath it all. You may have been bruised, but you are never broken. You may have fallen, but you have never failed. There are no wasted wounds. Every one of them carved space for more compassion. Every one of them deepened the well of your empathy. And that is the sacred paradox. The very pain that once threatened to shatter you now makes you more whole. The ego clings to pain because it uses it to build identity. It says, this is what happened to me, this is who I am. But the soul is not interested in who you were. The soul is always whispering who you are. Right now, in this breath, in this eternal now. The soul says, you are light, you are enough, you are free. Forgiveness is not condoning, forgiveness is not forgetting, forgiveness is freedom. It is the sacred act of saying, I choose peace over poison. I choose truth over story. I choose to no longer bleed from a wound I did not inflict. That choice is yours. It always has been. Healing is not becoming invincible. It's becoming transparent, letting the light pass through you again, letting love flow again, letting the river of grace wash away the debris of identity until all that remains is presence, naked, real, awake. You are not your wounds. You are the open sky into which the clouds of sorrow have passed. You are the sacred observer, the divine breath behind the grief, the untouched spirit beneath the trauma. That is why nothing you've ever gone through has managed to extinguish you, because you are eternal. And even now, in this moment, with everything you carry, you are whole. You don't need fixing, you need remembering. You need to remember that you came here not to stay safe, but to be free. Not to avoid pain, but to transcend it. Not to live without scars, but to learn that scars do not diminish the soul, they illuminate it. When you begin to see your pain not as the end of your story, but as a sacred sentence in a much larger book, everything changes. Suddenly the tears were necessary. The silence was sacred. The darkness was divine. Because they brought you here to this moment where you can finally say, I am not my wounds. I am not my story. I am not my fear. I am love remembering itself. I am presence awakening to itself. I am spirit, infinite, eternal, whole. And so are you. You are not your wounds. The world may have told you otherwise. It may have pointed at your scars and tried to name them failure. It may have seen your tenderness as weakness, your silence as defeat. But that was the world speaking from its own fear. That was the world forgetting its own light. You must not listen to the echo of unawakened minds. Listen instead to the silence within you that has never forgotten who you truly are. You are not the brokenness. You are the one who survived it. And even more than survival, you are the one who transformed because of it. The caterpillar does not curse the cocoon. It surrenders to the darkness because it knows in some eternal place beyond the mind that the wings are coming. What feels like death is often just the shedding of an old self. What feels like collapse is often the beginning of becoming. Trust this. Pain is not the absence of God. Pain is the voice of your spirit calling you home. Home not to safety, but to surrender. Home not to avoidance, but to awareness. Home to the part of you that remains untouched by all that has ever happened. Rumi said, try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. When you stop resisting your wound, it stops ruling your life. When you stop fighting what hurt you, you begin to uncover what healed you. You are not your wounds. You are the timeless breath behind the pain, the breath that has been with you through every tear, through every disappointment, through every closed door. That breath is God whispering, I never left. You've felt lost, we all have. But how can you ever truly be lost when what you're seeking lives within you? You search for healing, but healing is the return to your own being. Not the self made of memory and fear, but the self made of awareness and light. You are not here to carry your suffering like a badge. You are here to transcend it. You are here to become so deeply rooted in your soul that nothing external can shake the truth of who you are. Do not reduce your vastness to one moment of pain. You are an entire cosmos pretending to be a person, a river of eternity flowing through a temporary form. And yes, this form may bleed, it may ache, but the river flows on, untouched, undisturbed. Let go of the idea that healing must look like perfection. Healing is not linear. It is not clean. It is not always graceful. Sometimes it looks like falling apart, like lying on the floor in surrender, like being cracked open so fully that there is no turning back. And that is the gift, because once you are cracked open, the light inside you has no choice but to shine. You are not your wounds. You are not the childhood you had to survive. You are not the relationship that failed. You are not the words spoken in anger or the silence that followed. You are not the missed opportunity, the diagnosis, the loss. You are not the night you almost gave up. You are the dawn that followed. You are the quiet resilience no one saw. You are the breath that kept going. You are the heart that chose to stay open, even when it would have been easier to close. And that is the miracle. Not that you were never wounded, but that you kept loving anyway. That is the divine in you. You are not what happened. You are how you chose to meet what happened. That is where your power lives, not in rewriting the past, but in reclaiming the present. Not in erasing the pain, but in choosing to no longer let it name you. The soul does not want to keep score. The soul wants to be free. So let go, not because it didn't matter, but because you matter more. Release the resentment, not because they deserve it, but because you do. Release the identity built on wounds, not because it was false, but because it is too small for who you are becoming. Release the need to understand everything. Some things are not meant to be understood with the mind, but held with the heart. You are not your wounds. You are the love that was always there. You are the silence beneath the noise. You are the presence that remains when everything else falls away. And so now, in this sacred moment, choose again. Choose not to carry what is not yours. Choose not to replay the story that keeps you small. Choose to remember that you are infinite. Choose to rise. Because every time you rise, not in spite of your pain, but through it, you teach the world what healing really looks like. You become a lighthouse for others still lost in the storm. You become a reminder that love is stronger than fear, that presence is more powerful than pain, that spirit cannot be broken. You are not your wounds. You are the healing. There comes a moment, quiet, almost imperceptible, when the soul no longer seeks to be defended. It no longer clings to its history or waits for the world to affirm its worth. It simply rests not in the memory of what has been, but in the awareness of what is. And in that sacred pause, where nothing needs to be added and nothing needs to be erased, the truth stands clear. You were never incomplete. This realization does not arrive with trumpets. It doesn't crash through your resistance with force. It arrives like dawn, slowly, gently, turning darkness into light without asking permission. And suddenly, all that once felt unbearable becomes somehow sacred. Not because it was right, but because it led you here to this tenderness, this openness, this reverence for your own becoming. What you once saw as damage is now the doorway to depth. Not a wound to be covered, but a passage into clarity. And from that clarity, a soft knowing rises a knowing that does not need to be proven or shouted. It is the quiet authority of the soul reclaiming its ground, not as a warrior, but as a witness. You begin to understand that healing was never about going back to who you were, but about releasing everything you never truly were. You are not here to perfect your past. You are here to transcend it. You are not here to edit your story so it hurts less. You are here to outgrow the story entirely. To rise from the page as the presence that authored it, not the character caught in its plot. Let yourself feel that. Let yourself remember that who you are is not confined to the body that trembled or the mind that fractured in the face of pain. You are the stillness behind the trembling, the space beyond the thought. You are the witness who watched the heartbreak and the love that stayed even after the pieces fell. You are what survived. Not in spite of the storm, but through it, with it, and ultimately beyond it. The soul does not fear the storm. The soul understands that every gust of wind strips away what was never yours, that every lightning flash illuminates a truth too long hidden, that the thunder is not a warning but a drumbeat calling you home to yourself. And what is left, once the storm has passed, is not emptiness, it is spaciousness. It is peace, not as the absence of conflict, but as the presence of alignment when who you are no longer pretends to be who you were. There is no redemption in reliving the pain, only in releasing it, not through force, not through effort, but through remembrance. Because what the ego clutches to the need to justify, to defend, to hold on the soul, gently lays down, not as surrender to defeat, but as surrender to truth. You do not need to prove you are worthy of healing. You are healing. You are the evidence of life moving through what once felt lifeless. You are the echo of divinity reverberating through a form that has forgotten its origin. But even in that forgetting, grace has never left your side. And grace does not keep score. Grace does not ask, "Are you ready?" It simply arrives. It pours itself into your cracks, not to seal them, but to remind you that light travels best through the open. So now, breathe. Breathe not to fill a void, but to return to the rhythm that has always been yours, the breath that does not belong to yesterday or tomorrow, the breath that does not ask what you've endured. It simply is, as you are, unconditioned, untouched, free. In that breath, notice there is no wound, there is no label, there is no shame, there is only presence. And in presence, all things are made whole. You were never meant to carry your story like a shield. You were meant to live beyond it, like a sky that has finally remembered its own vastness. Your pain was never the problem. Your attachment to it was. And now, even that can be met with compassion. Let your suffering rest. It has done what it came to do. It brought you to this edge, this horizon of awakening. Now, your task is not to keep digging into the earth for answers, but to look up, to see the light that has been waiting to rise from the center of your being, a light that does not chase away the dark, but makes peace with it, a light that knows the dark was never its enemy, only its beginning. You are not here to become someone different. You are here to remember who you've always been beneath the forgetting. And what a glorious remembrance it is when the self drops away and only the self remains quiet, infinite, free. And when you stand in that freedom, even your story changes. Not because the facts are erased, but because your relationship to them is no longer one of bondage. You no longer say, "This happened to me." You say, "This moved through me and it awakened me." This is your power. Not in rewriting the events, but in reclaiming your identity. You are not your wounds. You are the one who walks forward anyway, barefoot on sacred ground, each step a prayer, not for answers, but for deeper awareness. You are the one who stopped waiting to be rescued because you finally remembered you are not broken, you are becoming. And becoming is not a straight path. It is a spiral. It brings you back to what you thought you had outgrown, but this time with eyes that see differently, with a heart that no longer braces, with a presence that no longer flinches. That is growth. Not the absence of pain, but the absence of resistance to it. Your liberation is not found in denying what hurt you. Your liberation is found in no longer confusing that pain with who you are. You are not your wounds. You are the ocean that contains them. You are the sky that opens wider than the clouds. You are the still flame in the center of the fire. You are the unshaken witness, the silent depth, the invisible, invincible truth. And this is the beginning of your return. You are not your wounds. You are the sacred pause between stories, the breath that existed before the wound ever touched you. You are the soft voice that whispers, "I am still here, even after everything else has gone silent." And that voice, that quiet, unwavering pulse of your being is not fragile. It is not wounded. It is eternal. The pain may have entered through the door of your humanity, but it has never reached the truth of your divinity. And the more you remember this, the less power your suffering holds over you. The wound loses its grip, not because it disappears, but because you no longer place your identity inside it. You become vast, so vast, that the wound itself dissolves into the infinity of your presence. This is not philosophy. This is freedom. It is the sacred moment you stop needing life to rewrite what happened and begin allowing life to reveal who you've become because of it. And not in a hardened way, no, not with armor, but with transparency, with the gentleness of one who has let the fire pass through and who now carries light where the weight used to be. You begin to walk differently. You no longer measure yourself by the reactions of others because you understand that truth does not require validation. You no longer shrink when challenged because you are rooted in something deeper than reaction. You are grounded in awareness. You see, awakening does not mean the storm stops. It means you stop fearing the rain. You let the sky do what it must because you found the shelter that can't be touched, the quiet cathedral within where the soul kneels not in suffering, but in surrender. And that surrender is not a giving up. It is a rising into life as it is, not as it was, not as you wished it to be, but as it is in this moment, whole and holy and completely enough. There is no greater peace than this. To no longer need to be seen through the lens of your pain, to no longer offer your past as an introduction, to no longer explain yourself through the trauma, but to let your presence speak for itself. You are not your wounds. You are the silence that does not seek applause. You are the love that did not shut down when the world forgot how to love. You are the steady flame that has learned how to glow in the absence of fuel. That is your miracle. That is your truth, and it cannot be taken. So now breathe again. Feel that breath as if it is the first. Feel it not as survival, but as a sacred choice. Each inhale a testament that you belong here. Each exhale a release of the weight that was never yours to carry. You do not need to hold on to your suffering to honor it. You honor it by living freely. You honor it by laughing fully. You honor it by loving with your whole being, knowing that you have earned this joy, not in spite of what you've been through, but because you had the courage to return to joy anyway. And now the time for waiting is over. You've waited long enough to be chosen. You've waited long enough to feel whole. You've waited long enough to begin, but you were never waiting for something outside you. You were waiting for your own return. And here you are, not perfect, not fixed, but real, unedited, unapologetic, unbound. You are the evidence that light is stronger than history. You are the embodiment of a soul that refused to stay asleep. You are not your wounds. You are the healing. You are the resurrection. You are the morning after the longest night, quiet, luminous, unshakably alive. And as you walk forward now, know this: nothing real can ever be lost. And nothing unreal was ever truly yours. The love that remains is the love that is you. The peace that remains is the peace that never left. The self that remains is eternal. And it is that self, beyond the scars, beyond the stories, beyond the names the world gave you. It is that self who speaks now, gently, clearly, undeniably. I am not what happened. I am what rose from it. You are not your wounds. You are the sunrise the night could not stop. You are the breath that broke through silence. You are the rebirth written into every cell of your being. You are the echo of divinity carried forward through time, through tears, through transformation. And now you are ready to rise, not as a survivor, not as a name defined by endurance, but as the presence that was never harmed to begin with. Because what you're awakening into is not a version of you that was once broken and is now repaired. That would still make the wound your origin. No, you are awakening into the truth that your essence has never been wounded. Your soul has always been whole. The pain did not create your strength, it revealed it. The loss did not give you depth, it uncovered it. The betrayal did not make you wise, it simply burned away the illusion that you were ever separate from wisdom itself. You are not the consequence of life, you are the cause of your own awakening. The creator, the source, rising back into recognition of itself. You are the soul, remembering that it was never at the mercy of the wound, it was the light observing it all. And so the old identities begin to fall away. The story of I am the abandoned one, gone. The story of I am the one who failed, gone. The story of I am the one they hurt, gone. And in the sacred quiet, beneath those voices, a new truth emerges. Not new because it was created, but new because you finally stopped looking away from it. A truth so simple, so clear, so alive, it feels like coming home. I am not what happened to me. I am what remains. The silence that listens, the love that keeps opening, the stillness that never flinched. And in this space here, now there is no effort required. There is no proving. There is no defense, because the soul has nothing to protect. It simply is. It shines because that is its nature. It loves because that is its breath. It gives because withholding is foreign to its being. When you live from this remembrance, the world changes, not because it stops being chaotic, but because you stop being entangled. You are no longer pulled into the past or hurled into imagined futures. You become presence itself. And presence does not resist life, it embraces it. You begin to see even the ones who hurt you differently. You no longer carry the weight of bitterness. You no longer mistake justice for vengeance. You no longer see your pain as a weapon or your healing as a performance. You begin to love them, not to excuse them, but because you no longer fear them. You see them through the eyes of the soul. And that is the final gift of awakening. Forgiveness, not the kind that demands forgetting, but the kind that no longer requires remembering. You forgive not because they deserve peace, but because you do. Because every ounce of energy you spend on resentment is a breath you steal from your own becoming. Forgiveness is not a release of them. It is a return to you, to the quiet garden of your own being, to the soft river that still flows, to the divine light that never once dimmed. And once you have returned, truly returned, you will find something unexpected. Gratitude, not gratitude for the wound, but gratitude through the wound. You'll see how it brought you to the edge of yourself. You'll see how it burned away every lie. You'll see how it left you with nothing but truth. And in that emptiness, you are finally free. Free to remember what you are. You are not your wounds. You are the sacred stillness that remains when everything else falls away. You are the soul that made it through. You are the presence that has nothing left to fear. You are the truth that cannot be undone. You are the one who knows. Nothing is missing. Nothing is broken. Nothing is lost. All is held. All is known. All is love. So now, let the old stories rest. Let the echoes fade. Let the wound close, not as an ending, but as a birth. The time of contraction is over. Now comes the expansion wide, infinite, true. You are not your wounds. You are the space they pass through. You are the eternity that survived. And now you are free. Truly, wholly, finally free. You are not the events that have unfolded in your past. You are not the bruises left behind by someone else's misunderstanding of love. You are not the echoes of pain, nor the lingering fear dressed up as memory. The pain happened, yes, but the suffering, that's a choice your soul no longer needs to make. Pain is a signal. Suffering is a story. And you, my friend, are the author of that story. You can put down the pen. You can stop circling the same sentence. You can choose to no longer reread the pages that made you weep. Because while pain is part of the human journey, suffering is a loop created by the ego, fed by identification with what was, instead of presence in what is. We live in a world where hurt seems inevitable, but that is only because we confuse what happened to the body, to the circumstances, to the mind, with who we are. But the soul does not bleed. The soul does not break. The soul does not suffer unless you tell it to. There is a space inside you, wide as the sky, still as the ocean before the wind, that has never been harmed. And the moment you return to that place, the moment you remember that your essence is untouched by all that has occurred, the chains of suffering begin to loosen. You see, the ego thrives on attachment. It builds monuments out of wounds. It decorates its walls with the past, then sits you down in the middle and calls it truth. But truth is not found in the stories you replay. Truth is found in the awareness that watches them silently, without judgment, without pain. Pain knocks at the door, but suffering is when you let it move in. You feed it. You dress it up. You give it your name. And suddenly the experience becomes an identity. But you were never meant to be the experience. You were meant to witness it, rise from it, grow through it, and let it go. The flower does not mourn the storm. It simply drinks the rain and blooms again. You too are designed to bloom after the breaking. You too are wired for healing, for rising, for returning to the light. But first, you must release the grip. You must stop clutching the pain as if it defines you. Because the longer you hold it, the heavier it becomes, and the more you forget how light your soul truly is. There is no shame in being hurt. There is no weakness in having been wounded. But there is great power, holy, radiant power, in saying, this happened, and I choose to stop carrying it. This broke me open, and I choose not to suffer anymore. Not because the pain didn't matter, but because I matter more. We live in the echo chamber of our own minds, repeating thoughts as if they are commandments, when they are only invitations. You are invited every day to pick up thoughts of peace instead of pain. You are invited to say no thank you to the voice that insists you must suffer because you once hurt. You are invited to stop sitting in the courtroom of your past and start walking in the garden of your present. Do you remember what freedom feels like? It is not the absence of pain. It is the absence of identification with it. It is the knowing that though your hands may tremble and your voice may crack, your spirit is unshaken. That though your eyes have wept rivers, your soul is still the sun rising over them. Let me tell you something your heart already knows. You have everything you need to be free right now. The gate is open. The key was never lost. You only needed to remember that the pain is not your home. Pain is an event. Suffering is a dwelling. And you have lived in that dwelling far too long. Move out, find the stillness, sit in silence, and listen not to the noise of old narratives, but to the soft whisper of truth. You are not broken. You are becoming. The human experience is filled with contrast, joy and sorrow, light and shadow, comfort and discomfort. But none of these are permanent. They pass through you like the seasons. And suffering is what happens when you try to stop the season from changing. When you say, no, let winter stay forever. Even when spring is knocking, you don't need to fight what happened. You only need to stop resisting what is. Acceptance is not surrender. It is the first step to reclaiming your power. Because the moment you say, yes, this happened, but it does not define me, you reclaim the throne of your being. You stop serving the past. You start serving peace. And peace, my dear, is always available. It's not earned through punishment. It's not achieved through reliving your wounds. It's not won by proving your suffering was real. Peace comes when you say, I have suffered long enough. I have paid the price in tears, in tension, in the years I could not feel the sun. And now Now I choose light. You can drop the weight. You can drop the narrative. You can choose to carry only the lesson, not the scar. Forgiveness is not just for others. It is a balm for your own heart. It is saying to yourself, I love you enough to let you breathe again. I love you enough to stop punishing you for something you couldn't control. I love you enough to allow you joy. And that is the beginning of true healing. Not fixing the past, but releasing it. Not changing the memory, but changing your relationship to it. Not waiting for an apology, but giving yourself permission to rise. You are not your pain. You are not your grief. You are not your story. You are the still awareness behind it all. The ocean that holds the wave. The sky that holds the storm. When you remember this, when you embody this, the suffering begins to dissolve. Not because life becomes easier, but because you stop adding weight to what is already heavy. You stop dragging the chain and start walking free. Even now, as these words meet your ears, something inside you remembers. A softness, a silence, a space untouched by trauma. This is your true nature. This is your home. Return to it. There comes a moment in your inner evolution where you look in the mirror not to see your face, but to meet your awareness. To recognize that the reflection staring back is not the entirety of who you are. Beneath the surface of the physical, beyond the drama of the emotional, deeper than the noise of your thoughts, lives the still and spacious presence of your soul, and it has never been hurt. The body remembers, the mind repeats, but the soul observes in silence, untouched by all of it. You are not the memory, you are the one remembering. You are not the pain, you are the witness of the pain. And in that sacred awareness, all suffering begins to soften. Suffering only survives in resistance. It needs your agreement, it needs your participation, it needs your attention to grow, but once you stop watering it, it withers. Once you say, I no longer need this story to feel real, you begin to exit the prison of identification and step into the open air of presence. Do you realize how many years of joy we delay, hoping for a better yesterday? How many mornings we waste because we're still reliving an old night? And yet, the present moment, this very breath, has never left us. It sits patiently, offering peace in exchange for surrender. Not surrender to the pain, but surrender of the need to make it personal. When we suffer, it's not the pain itself that crushes us, it's the meaning we assign. It's the belief that it was unfair, that it shouldn't have happened, that it took something from us that we can never get back. And yes, it's true, things happen that pierce the soul, that bring us to our knees, that change the shape of our lives. But it is also true that no event, no matter how deep the wound, can alter your divine identity. You are not here to carry burdens forever. You are not here to relive every wrong. You are not here to be the keeper of anguish. You are here to awaken. You are here to remember. You are here to be free. And freedom does not come when everything is resolved. Freedom comes when you stop needing everything to be resolved. The great paradox of healing is that it does not require forgetting what happened. It only requires releasing your grip on it. Holding on is not proof of strength. It's a misunderstanding of where your power comes from. Your power was never in remembering how you were hurt. It's in remembering that the hurt cannot touch your essence. A storm can bend the branches, but it cannot uproot the sky. And you, dear soul, are more sky than tree. You are the spaciousness in which the pain passed through, not the pain itself. And here is the most freeing realization of all. It was never your job to suffer. It was never your duty to carry the weight of other people's actions. It was never your purpose to punish yourself for being human, for having feelings, for needing love, for not knowing then what you know now. Let go of the should-haves. Let go of the why me. Let go of the questions that circle but never land. The universe does not demand explanations. It only invites evolution. You did not fail because you were hurt. You are not broken because you still feel. You are simply unfolding, growing, cracking open into something wiser, something kinder, something lighter. And lightness does not mean forgetting. It means remembering who you are beyond what happened. It means finally telling yourself, I've heard enough. It's time to live again. There is a sacred space within you that has not aged, not changed, not been stained by anything you've endured. This space is your truth. It is always calm, always open, always whole. And every time you choose not to suffer, even in the smallest of ways, you come closer to that space. Every time you breathe instead of judge, release instead of relive, observe instead of attach, you come home. Do you see now? The pain already happened. There is no undoing it. But there is something greater. There is outgrowing it. There is rising from it. There is transmuting it into something that no longer poisons your heart. Yes, the memories are still there, but so is the witness. And the witness, the real, you knows that peace is not something you earn by punishing yourself. Peace is what you receive when you choose to stop fighting what already ended. Stop defending your suffering. Stop building shrines to your scars. Stop believing that your pain is the most interesting thing about you. There is a vastness in you waiting to be known. There is joy in you waiting to be reclaimed. There is purpose in you that has nothing to do with what broke you. This moment, this very breath is asking, will you let go? Will you let the past walk away without chasing it? Will you set down the heavy armor you no longer need? You may not know what comes next. You may not have all the answers, but you can choose peace anyway. Peace is not a product of understanding. Peace is a product of acceptance. And acceptance does not mean approval. It does not mean saying what happened was right. It means saying, I will not allow it to shape my life one moment longer. That is not weakness. That is awakening. Let yourself weep, yes. Let yourself feel what was never felt. Let the grief rise, not so you can suffer, but so it can finally move through. The body holds pain until we're ready to release it. Let the tears fall, but then let the tears dry and walk forward. Not away from what happened, but toward who you truly are. Forgiveness does not mean the past is erased. It means you are no longer willing to suffer in its shadow. It means you have chosen your soul's freedom over your mind's righteousness. It means you no longer need to prove you were wronged in order to prove that you are worthy of healing. And you are worthy, not because of what you've endured, but because of who you've always been beneath it all. Right now, in this very instant, you are being called into remembrance, not of your wounds, but of your wholeness, not of your failures, but of your eternal nature, not of your identity as the victim, but as the conscious presence who cannot be victimized. The ego will scream. It will beg you to hold on, to stay loyal to the pain, to keep circling the same story. But you are not the ego. You are the awareness that watches it spin. And in that awareness, there is the power to choose again. There is a kind of liberation that doesn't come with fanfare. It doesn't announce itself with thunder or fireworks. It arrives in the quiet moments when you finally stop asking why and start whispering thank you. Not because the pain was good, but because it awakened something inside you that was asleep. Because it brought you to the edge where you could no longer pretend, and in that still place, you finally remembered the truth. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become now. The suffering ends when the identification ends, and identification is nothing more than a habit of attaching to thoughts that don't serve you, a habit of believing the emotions without questioning their source, a habit of clinging to a version of yourself that no longer exists. But habits are not who you are. They are just choices repeated. They are just grooves in the mind, and grooves can be smoothed. Patterns can be undone. The brain rewires, the nervous system relaxes, the identity untangles the moment you say, this does not belong to me anymore. You may feel afraid to let go. There is strange safety in suffering, a false sense of control, a familiarity in pain. But healing asks you to step into the unknown, to loosen your grip on the drama that defined you, to say goodbye to the identity built from wounds, and walk into the light of who you've always been before the story, beyond the scars. Can you feel it? That quiet voice rising inside saying, there's more to you than this. That voice is real. It is sacred. It is the soul reminding you of your vastness, your strength, your divinity, and it will wait as long as you need, but it will never stop calling. You do not need to be fixed. You only need to be remembered. Not by others, by yourself. Remember the softness you buried, the innocence you silenced, the laughter you postponed. Remember what it felt like before the pain taught you to armor your heart. That place still exists. It is not gone. It is not broken. It is simply waiting beneath the rubble of your resistance. And the resistance is not you. It's just fear dressed in logic. It's the voice that says, if I let go, I'll be weak. But letting go is not weakness. It is the ultimate act of strength. Anyone can carry pain. But to release it, to truly open your hands and say, no more, that requires a courage the world cannot measure. The world may not understand your healing. It may still ask you to explain. It may still define you by what happened. But your soul is not here to be understood by those still asleep. Your soul is here to awaken and to shine so brightly that others remember how to wake as well. You are not the emotion. You are the space it moves through. You are not the thought. You are the stillness that watches. And suffering fades when you stop mistaking the weather for the sky. This breath right now is a chance to come home, not to the old identity, but to the open field of awareness where nothing needs to be solved and everything is already whole. How long will you delay your peace, waiting for the past to apologize? How long will you postpone joy, hoping someone else will finally see your pain and make it right? The truth is, they may never understand. They may never say the words you long to hear. But your healing does not depend on their awakening. It depends on yours. You can choose to forgive without permission. You can choose to let go without closure. You can choose to stop suffering even if the world continues spinning in ignorance. Because you are not here to win a courtroom battle. You are here to live, to be free, to love without condition, to release the anchors and fly. And yes, part of you will resist this. Part of you has grown so familiar with the story that it feels like a second skin. But you are not here to live a life of repetition. You are here for transformation. You were not created to carry pain forever. You were created to awaken through it, to become a vessel for compassion, to become a lighthouse for others still caught in the storm. There is no nobility in suffering. The soul does not evolve through punishment. It evolves through presence, through surrender. Through the decision, again and again, to choose love over fear, even when the fear seems justified. You will feel the temptation to revisit the pain. The mind will want to dissect it, to solve it, to find meaning in the chaos. But meaning is not found in the mind. Meaning is what the soul creates when the mind becomes silent. Can you sit in silence? Not in avoidance, but in reverence? Can you feel what you've been avoiding? Can you let it rise? Not to attach to it, but to finally witness it without judgment? That is where healing begins. Not in fixing, but in seeing clearly. Not in resisting, but in allowing. Not in blaming, but in blessing. Bless it all. Not because it was right, but because it brought you here. Because it cracked the shell around your heart and allowed the light to pour in. Because it reminded you that even in the darkest hour, something in you remained unshaken. That something is your eternal self. The part of you untouched by pain. The part of you that has watched lifetimes come and go. the part of you that is pure awareness, infinite, formless, serene. And when you live from that space, the suffering has no foothold. It cannot anchor into stillness. It cannot grasp what is not grasping. It cannot survive in the presence of truth. The truth is this: you are free right now. You do not need to earn it. You do not need to wait. The gate is open. You simply need to walk through. Let the memories be just that, memories. Let the pain be a teacher, not a tenant. Let the suffering dissolve in the silence that holds no resistance. This is not a destination. It is a return, a remembrance, a homecoming to the soul that never left you. Even when you turned away, you are the light beneath the wound. You are the peace beneath the thought. You are the presence beneath the noise. And the moment you stop looking for healing and become the space in which healing happens, everything changes. There comes a holy moment, quiet and unannounced, when you no longer seek to be rescued from your past because you realize you were never truly trapped by it. The door was always open. The chains were always imagined. And the only captor was your belief that you had to keep suffering in order to honor what you had been through. But you don't honor pain by holding it. You honor pain by freeing yourself from it. You don't need to suffer to prove you've been hurt. You don't need to wear the memory as armor. You don't need to explain to anyone why you are ready to be free. It is enough that your soul is ready. Let this be the moment you stop rehearsing the story. Let this be the breath that no longer carries resistance. Let this be the second you say, I forgive myself, I forgive them, I release the grip, I surrender the fight. And then just rest. Don't reach, don't strive, don't try to force a spiritual awakening out of the rubble. Just be still long enough to feel the light that never left. Rest in it, float in it, let it hold you. This is where transformation happens. Not by force, not by effort, but by resting in your true self. The part of you that does not need healing because it was never hurt. That is the great paradox of healing. You begin by thinking you are shattered. You work, you cry, you climb. And one day, through grace or surrender or silence, you realize there was nothing to fix, nothing to put back together. You were whole all along. You just forgot. You are not broken. You are not fragile. You are not your lowest day. You are not the echo of someone else's behavior. You are not the failure you feared. You are not the child who didn't know how to protect themselves. You are not the adult who carried shame like a shield. You are divine presence. You are eternal stillness. You are the sky that witnessed it all and remained unscathed. Can you feel it now? The breath flowing in and out without judgment, the heart beating without apology, the stillness beneath every thought, waiting like an open palm. This is grace. This is your nature. This is what suffering tried to cover but never could destroy. There is no enlightenment in punishment, no salvation in shame. There is only this: remembering, returning, releasing. And you can do that now. Not later, not when the world is safer, or your mind is quieter, or they finally say they're sorry. You can return now because the path home was never outside you. The pain happened, yes. And some of it cut deep. Some of it left you breathless. Some of it made you doubt the goodness of the world. But look at you now. Look how much you still care. How much you still long to grow. How much light still leaks through the cracks you thought would consume you. That light is your proof. Proof that the soul cannot be extinguished. Proof that your essence is stronger than your story. Proof that even when the mind screams in pain, the spirit whispers peace. You do not need to become someone new. You only need to become who you were before the world convinced you to suffer. Let go of the label, let go of the guilt, let go of the need to carry every hurt as if it were sacred. The sacredness is not in the wound. The sacredness is in your becoming. Yes, you've known darkness. Yes, you've tasted bitterness. But bitterness is not your home. Grief is not your identity. The soul cannot be defined by what it survives. If you need a mantra to carry forward, let it be this: I am no longer willing to suffer. I release the need to be at war with what was. I choose peace, not because it is easy, but because it is who I am. And repeat it. Not just with your voice, but with your breath, your posture, your presence. Say it when the memory resurfaces. Say it when the body tenses. Say it when the ego tries to seduce you back into its narrative. I am no longer willing to suffer. I choose peace. I choose peace. I choose peace. And each time you say it, something old falls away. Each time you say it, something sacred is remembered. Each time you say it, the past becomes lighter until one day it is no longer a weight, but a whisper, a chapter, a part of the journey, not the definition of it. This is the gift of awareness. This is the gift of awakening. Not that pain disappears, but that suffering does. Not that you forget, but that you remember more deeply who you truly are. And who you are is not fragile. You are light, embodied. You are love, remembering. You are wholeness, reawakened. You are here, alive, awake, and ready to stop surviving and start living. Ready to stop circling and start soaring. Ready to stop suffering and start simply being. Because the pain happened, yes. But the suffering, that ends now.